Ready for a deep dive today? We're taking a look at BookTok and how it's changing things. I, I mean, it's kind of wild how this corner of TikTok is changing how we find books, read books, heck, even how we think about books, you know?
It really is something else. You think of TikTok, you think of dances and challenges going viral, right? But then, boom, it's the spot to chat about books. It's not just a fad, though. We're talking a real shift happening in the book world, potentially.
Totally. I've got piles of articles here, research too. But let's ease into it. Something everyone can get behind. Remember when everyone started posting those, like, super styled food pics?
Oh, you mean where the avocado toast looks better than it tastes?
Yeah.
All about the angle?
And it's not just food, it's travel pics. Gotta have the perfect filter, posing in front of every landmark. Gotta make everything look amazing online, even if it's kind of, well, you know, normal in real life.
And here's the kicker, this whole look at me thing. It's crept into books. Our research points right at BookTok. Suddenly it's less about, like, really getting a book and way more about how reading looks.
So forget deep diving into Moby Dick. It's about showing off your giant book pile.
Bingo. These book hauls, you know what I'm talking about. Imagine a video, all these brand new books, maybe some fancy lighting, some music. It's all about that visual excitement. And those videos, TikTok eats that up. Instant gratification.
Which brings us to the algorithm, the heart of it. It sees those book hauls blowing up, views going through the roof, people going crazy for it. And it's like, okay, give the people what they want. More, more, more.
Exactly. TikTok's algorithm, it wants to get you feeling something right away. Joy, excitement, maybe even a little jealous. And those visual videos, book hauls, they check all the boxes. Problem is, it's a loop. We watch that surface level stuff, the algorithm shows us more of it, and suddenly we're not talking about books in a meaningful way anymore.
It's like that saying, we make our tools, then our tools make us. Except here, it's the algorithm making us, or at least our reading habits.
Spot on. And what's fascinating is this whole thing, it's leading to what some are calling books as fast fashion.
Whoa, hold on. Fast fashion. Books. So instead of, like, finding those classic books you keep forever, it's about whatever's trendy right now.
That's the gist, yeah. It's like instead of buying a classic piece for your wardrobe, it's about snagging the latest trendy piece. And you know what? One of our sources, TikToker King Grace Apple, they actually called this back in 2023, said books were going to be the next fast fashion thing. And it's scary how accurate they were. It's all about getting those books to look like a well-read person, not about actually reading them deeply, you know, like curating that perfect Instagram, but with bookshelves, which really begs the question, what does well-read even mean these days? With BookTok, is it about genuinely loving books or just having the right ones to show off? That's a big one.
Yeah, it's like, is your bookshelf a reflection of, you know, your journey with books? Or is it more like a shop window, showing off the latest and greatest?
Exactly. And it gets deeper, you know? Our sources, they're saying this trend, it's got some real consequences, both for us, the readers, and the authors too. Let's start with us readers, right? Imagine scrolling, constantly bombarded with these gorgeous book hauls, challenges to read more and more. It's easy to feel like you have to buy more, read faster, keep up with everyone else.
Oh, totally. It's like keeping up with the Joneses, but instead of a fancy car, it's a massive bookshelf.
Exactly. And look, reading goals, they're great. Nothing wrong with that. But when it becomes all about the number, how many books you can cram in, that's when we lose something. Our source is really honed in on those reading challenges, you know. People pushing themselves to read like 100 books a year, but are they even enjoying them?
Right. Which brings up that Japanese word we talked about, sundoku. Buying books, letting them stack up, unread. Our research mentioned it, like some people use it to justify buying more books than they could ever read. But with BookTok, is it even about the books anymore? Or is it just about the getting? How does that change how we feel about reading, you know?
Now that's a good question. Is sundoku this pure love of books? Or is it just wanting to look like a reader, not actually being one? It's something to think about.
For sure. But we've been talking a lot about readers here. What about the authors? The ones writing these books, how are they handling all this?
That's where BookTok gets really interesting. It's a two-sided coin, you know? On one hand, it's amazing for authors, especially those just starting out, self-published, haven't hit the big time yet. It's a direct line to readers, a chance to build a following, get people talking about their work.
So it's kind of leveling the playing field, giving more authors a shot.
Exactly. But here's the flip side, the other side of that coin. The algorithm, the one that can help an author, it can also, like, control them, you know? When your success is all about likes and views, It's tempting to write for the algorithm, not for yourself.
So you're saying they start writing for trends, chasing those viral moments?
Exactly. And our research, it points to this leading to like simpler stories, characters that are more about grabbing your attention and less about, real depth.
So forget complex themes. It's all about that book talk moment, something you can squeeze into a 60-second clip.
Right. Which isn't to say all books are shallow, not at all. But the way the platform works, those short eye-catching videos, it pushes authors in that direction, even if they don't mean to.
It's like that TikToker, what was their name? Andy Darcio, right?
Mm.
They blew up online, millions of followers, and then boom, published a book, which is great. But does having a ton of followers make you a good writer?
Good question, right? Having a platform, it gets your book out there, but it doesn't mean the writing is good. It makes you wonder, what does make a good book in the age of TikTok?
Right? Like, are we judging books by how shareable they are, not by the actual story?
Yeah.
Tricky stuff. But hold on, isn't there another side to this? What about the authors who were totally unknown, the ones who got their big break because of book talk?
Absolutely. We can't forget about them. Book Talks open doors for so many talented writers, people who traditional publishers might have overlooked, and it's introduced readers to stories they never would have found otherwise. It's all about seeing the whole picture, the good and the bad.
Finding that balance, right?
Exactly. And part of that is looking at how fast books are being pumped out. Social media, it's all about now, and that put huge pressure on authors to keep up.
So quality takes a hit because everything's got to be done yesterday.
Unfortunately, yeah, that happens a lot. Our research brought up that Wings of Blood and Wings of Iron, Mess, remember? That book was rushed out so fast it was full of errors. Missing chapters, wrong titles. Some people even got unfinished books.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
People paid for incomplete books? That's insane. I guess it shows you how hungry people are for the next big thing, though, right? They're so caught up in finding the newest book talk sensation, they didn't even care if the book's a mess.
And for authors, it's just more pressure to churn out books faster and faster. It's a cycle that hurts everyone. But beyond the speed, there's something else, something a bit darker that our research uncovered. A lot of authors are living in fear these days.
You mean the whole cancel culture thing?
Yeah.
Saying the wrong thing and getting destroyed online.
Exactly. The internet, it's amazing, but it's also created this environment where everyone's watching, waiting for you to mess up. One bad tweet, one comment taken out of context, and your career could be over.
And for a writer, that's got to be terrifying. Makes you not want to write anything risky, anything that could be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of book world we want? One where everyone's too scared to take chances?
Big questions and no easy answers. It all ties into free speech, How do we balance being responsible, being inclusive, with letting artists be artists? It's a tough line to walk. And it makes you think, are we getting safer, more predictable books because of all this? Is book talk, maybe without meaning to, making our reading choices smaller? It's like we're stuck, right? Afraid to say the wrong thing, so the writing gets stifled and these algorithms are feeding us the same stuff over and over. Whatever happened to just, finding a book you love, That element of surprise is gone.
It's a real concern. We're in these echo chambers of our own taste.
Yeah.
Think about it. You watch a couple book talk videos, those enemies to lovers romances, which, let's be real, the algorithm loves those, and suddenly your whole feed is nothing but that.
Yeah, and look, if you're into it, cool. But you're right, that algorithm, it's designed to keep you hooked. Shows you more of what it thinks you like. But what about the stuff we don't even know about? Those books we might actually love, but we'll never see them because they don't fit the mold. Exactly. It's like we're limiting ourselves without realizing it. Fewer genres, fewer writing styles, fewer new voices. Remember that Murakami quote we found. If you only read the books everyone else is reading, you can only think what everyone else is thinking. That's book talk in a nutshell.
It's like walking into a bookstore, right?
Yeah.
So many books, you feel a little lost, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
You might actually pick up something totally new, something you didn't even know existed.
And there's something else, something important here. This whole system, it hurts writers from marginalized communities the most. Authors who are already up against it, trying to get their work out there. If the algorithm only cares about what's popular right now, it's even harder for those voices to break through.
So it's bigger than just our own reading list. It's the whole literary world, right? We need different perspectives, different stories. Otherwise, books all start to feel the same.
100%. And that brings up another point. What about actual bookstores? How are they handling all of this? It's interesting, right? On the one hand, they're adapting. They've got those Book Talk displays, playing into the whole visual thing we were talking about.
Oh yeah, those Book Talk made me buy at tables. So smart. Though I do kind of feel like a sheep sometimes, like, oh, the algorithm told me to buy this, better not disappoint.
I know, right? But hey, at least bookstores are trying something new. But it makes you wonder, what about the books that don't make it onto those tables? The ones that might be amazing but don't have that, like, flashy Book Talk appeal.
Feels like the algorithm is taking over bookstores now too, doesn't it? So we've covered a lot. Book hauls, fear of getting canceled, these algorithms controlling what we read. Honestly, it's kind of a downer. So is Book Talk ruining books?
I wouldn't go that far. It's like anything else. It's got good and bad. It's gotten people excited about reading, created these communities online, helped some authors find a huge audience. But we can't ignore the downsides. This focus on appearances, the pressure on authors, how it limits what we read. We got to be aware.
Knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
Now that we see what's happening, we can use Book Talk and just reading in general in a smarter way.
Exactly. Don't let some algorithm tell you what to read. Go explore, try something different, go to the library, get lost in the stacks, remember what it's like to just enjoy a book without needing to post about it, you know?
Who knows, you might find a hidden gem, something that blows you away, that you can share with other people. And hey, maybe, just maybe, we can shift the algorithm a little bit ourselves. And on that note, that's it for today's deep dive into Book Talk. Keep those pages turning, and we'll see you for the next one.